In the last stream, we were working our way initially through the cool Frozen Progress questline. We did manage to get a storage scanner, which is going to help tremendously with our storage needs going forward, and we did manage to get some power in the form of the Sterling Dynamo. However, we did then get a little bit distracted doing some base rework. Between streams, I've made this room a bit bigger. Our old base used to go further this way because I wanted this mana spreader that we placed down at the end of the last episode to be the center of this top room. Everything else, apart from these three chests, has been moved down to the lower level here, and so now all of the stuff that we had before is now available on this lower level. We've got our storage scanner, we've got our wheat, we've got our wood, we've got our Sterling Dynamo to power that storage scanner, we've got some of our furnaces, we have our campfires, and then over here, embedded in the wall, we have our frozen andesite, granite, diorite, and deep slate. And the plan for today's stream is going to be to take all four of these frozen resources and automate the transformation of those frozen stones into frozen ores that we can then process into actual ores and actual ingots along with redstone and coal to hopefully make it a lot easier for us to advance further forward into the cool Frozen Progress questline. Now, to do that, the first thing we're going to need to do is get our mana back online. I did set up another mana pool here. Up at the top, we do still have our old mana pool. The reason I didn't move this one is that the mana pool does lose all of its mana when you move it, and this one does currently have a little bit of mana left in it, which I think could be useful at some point in today's stream. So what I think I am going to do, I'm going to grab a bunch of dirt. We actually do have a fair bit of the stuff, and I'm going to place that dirt kind of around this mana spreader. And we're probably going to start by making a bunch more of the Glacier Flora. We'll place those down here, and we'll dig a hole in the roof to allow all of these Glacier Flora to produce mana. We're going to send all of that mana potentially to this one mana spreader, and then that will send its mana down into this mana pool on the lower level. Now, I think what we're going to want to do is probably move this up by one, because we, of course, do need to get our orchid down. The orchid is hanging out in here. I'm going to place that down right about here, and we're going to place the mana pool directly on top of it, like so. That's going to allow the mana from the mana spreader, from the Glacier Floras, to be sent down to here, and then be used by the orchids, and then we're going to place down 4 block places, here, 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 and of course here, and then we're going to have 4 block breakers that are going to break all of the ores once they've been transformed from the original frozen stone. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Step 1, let me get these Glacier Floras down. Actually, you know what? Step 1, let me get these chests sorted out, because we have this storage scanner, but I'm not using the storage scanner because right now the chests are not where I want them to be. So what I am thinking, after a suggestion from the Twitch chat, I'm thinking of setting up a little bit of a storage room underneath this main floor here. I'm thinking of kind of making a little storage room underneath here that's probably not going to look as good, but is going to allow us to just put a bunch of chests down there out of the way, and then we can access all of those chests quickly and easily via the use of the storage scanner. So I think in order to do that, one thing I would like to do is get a trapdoor. Unfortunately, there's no living wood plank trapdoor by default, but fortunately, we do have the framed blocks mod installed, which is a super nifty mod that allows you to make basically all of these different shapes and then just right click with any other textured block and apply that texture to that shape. And so if we can get 6 framed slabs, which we can make by crafting 3 framed cubes, which we can get with just some planks and some sticks, which we should be able to get very easily from our botany pot here, then boom, then we can do this and this. That gets us a framed trapdoor, and then at that point we could put that potentially right about here. And if we were to right-click that with the living wood plank, it should look just like living wood. Nice. And then we can open this up, we can dig down, and we can get ourselves, and actually I'm going to put that stone back, just because I think it's going to be a little bit easier if we do this with the copper hammer, like that, to give us even more space. But we can get a little cave going, we can get some more ladders. I did tweak this between streams, so now this ladder goes all the way up to the surface, and so going forward, we shouldn't have to worry about jumping up and down this raggedy old staircase that we were using previously. Instead, we can just use the ladder, which is going to make our lives just a little bit easier. There are also framed ladders from the framed mod. And so at some point, we might also look at replacing these ladders with ladders that look a little bit nicer. But for now, let's make some more ladders. Let's get all of our chests down into this room, potentially with these extra chests that I made between streams, and let's get our storage situation sorted. Alright, so not too long later, and now down here we have a pretty barren room, but we have a ton of chests ready for us to fill up. Going forward, there are better ways of us storing all of our items that are not just a ton of chests connected to a storage scanner, but for the time being, it is going to work. In fact, it looks like we have a couple of extra chests lying around, so let's do this, and then in the storage scanner, we can just add those to the list of inventories that our system can utilize, and that should give us enough space for, hopefully, the foreseeable future. So now, let's grab all of that dirt that we had earlier. Let's also reset that to descending, and let's also grab our glacier flowers. We've got 6 of them right now. I think we're going to want to get a lot more of these because they're essentially free mana. And so what I will probably do is spend a little bit of time here getting yet more bone meal so that we can get yet more white and light blue petals, and then just spend a bit of time at the petal apothecary to make even more of these glacier flowers. And of course, we're just going to put all of those down around this mana spreader. I actually don't know how far away you can put a flower and still have it be connected. Let me quickly go and get my Wand of the Forest. There is also a very useful add-on for the storage scanner that lets you access it wirelessly, which is definitely something that we should look to get, I think, sooner rather than later, so we don't have to keep running up and down like this to access what is available. But that is connected. I'm being told that 6 blocks is the distance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is the idea that this will also connect? It will. Does this connect, or is that too far? That's too far. But that's kind of fine. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks out that way, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks out that way, and of course 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks out this way, we can then kind of fill in this area. And I assume we kind of have to do it like this with a diagonal between the two. I assume that these will be connected. But we could then kind of fill in every single one of these blocks of dirt with glacier flora, and then at that point it's just a question of whether or not the mana spreader is able to keep up with that many glacier flora, because it's possible that that many glacier flora might produce too much mana for the mana spreader to move. But if that's the case, we can always look at methods of making the mana spreader better. And so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make really as many glacier flora here as we can, and we'll cut a big old hole in the roof to get all of them online. Alright, so quite a bit of time later, we now have about 40 glacier floras. I didn't actually fill in the whole area here. This would have been 60 if we did the whole area. We've got about 2/3 of the way there, and we've cut out a fairly big hole in the roof to allow all of these to get snow. In the future, we'll maybe look at making this look a little bit nicer and, you know, maybe just fill in the walls all the way down to here, so we've got this area for the glacier flowers. Right now, though, we are saturating this mana spreader. So you'll see the mana spreader is constantly full, which means we are generating more mana than the mana spreader can move. There are a couple of things we could potentially do to rectify that. We could move the mana spreader a little closer. The closer you move it, the faster the bursts of mana reach the mana pool, and therefore the faster it can send more bursts of mana. On top of that, there are also lenses that we can add to the front of the mana pool to augment how much mana it moves at once. There is the velocity lens, which increases the speed at which those mana bursts move. There is the potency lens, which increases the amount of mana that can be moved at any one time. I should put my bucket of lava that is in my offhand away so that I don't die. Let's quickly see about moving up to the surface, because maybe the ice-cold outside air will stop us from dying and setting on fire. Yep, we're okay. I have eaten the last of my toast sandwiches, and so we are now going to have to start utilizing our own wheat here to make our own bread. And we can cook this into toast, which is probably worth doing, especially because we can do it on the campfire as well. So if we do this, and we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that should get us quite a bit of toast quite quickly. And then we could potentially just leave the rest of the bread in there to slowly but surely turn into toast over a prolonged period of time. Yeah, I think that's probably well worth doing. So yeah, the velocity lens allows the mana to move faster, and the potency lens allows each burst of mana to hold more mana, if that makes sense. And you can actually combine these as well into combination lenses and put one lens on that's like a combination potency and velocity lens. The only trouble is that these do require runes, and as we saw previously, the runes do require the runic altar, which requires either a mana diamond or a mana pearl, and we don't currently have either a diamond or a pearl. I'll bookmark both of these though, and we'll come back to that, because we are going to have to get, as I mentioned last time, we are going to have to get an ender pearl of some persuasion if we want to move forward. Either that or a diamond, because if we want to collect the ores that are generated when we break them with the block breakers, we're going to have to either get a vacuumulator from thermal expansion or a hopper hawk from Botania. The Twitch chat does make a good point here in that we could probably do this with 4 hoppers if we place the block breakers and places in the right place. So let me go and get the block placer. We need 4 of these. Thankfully, super easy to make, just iron and stone. And then the block breaker is a little bit more expensive. And again, we want 4 of these, but it's just a bunch of iron and some more redstone. So that really shouldn't be too difficult. While we wait for those to smelt, we can move this resource generator Mark II back. It turns out you can just make calcite with the resource generator too, and so instead of having to get the snowballs and make the stone to craft the calcite, which we then cook on the campfire to make bone meal, you can just use the resource generator too to duplicate your calcite and then turn that into bone meal, which is very nice indeed. Over here, let's grab the redstone. This should get us a bunch of redstone dust, hopefully more than enough for today's episode. I think 51 is going to be fine. The same thing can be done with regular stone, and in fact, I'm probably going to temporarily steal this. We got 141 calcite, that's fine. Let me dump all that in the system. And just because we do need a little bit of stone for crafting here, I think we'll put stone above this and get stone being made passively as well. Let's also get this iron smelting over in here. We're probably going to need a fair bit more iron, actually. Let's take you out of there, drop that up here, drop this back in there, and also clear out a bunch of the extra junk that is currently in our inventory. But let's get some more frozen diorite, and let's just keep on going to try and get yet more iron. Alright, so we've got a bunch of iron smelting, but I think that 32 might get us the 4 block placers and the 4 block breakers. So let's take those. Let's of course make sure, as per usual, that we do have fuel in here to keep that going. The rest of those seem fine. So for the block placer, as we saw earlier, super easy. Over here we have stone. Let's grab that stone and let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. So initially I was thinking of putting these in the ground, kind of facing upwards, but I think what we can probably do instead is put them down here, 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 and here, like that. What that is going to allow us to do is get our block breakers. For this, we're going to need 8 iron pickaxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 more. We only got 3 more there, right? We don't have 8 iron pickaxes. We don't. That is fine. We can get some more iron. We can make 1 more iron pickaxe. And then from there, that should be everything. As soon as we make, of course, the dispensers. Oh, of course, we need to get ourselves some bows. That's fine, though, right? We need 4 bows. We got enough string for 2 bows. But in theory, if we have any leaves left over, which we do, we should be able to craft those up into vines. And then we can craft those vines into string. And I assume that string also works for the bows here. It totally does. So we'll take 2 more of those. We'll drop the rest of the string back into the system. And then we'll go and craft 4 dispensers. That should be everything for 4 block breakers. It is indeed. And then we're going to put these down here. And ideally, we do want that going down facing the right way. And so, in fact, can I place these down, like, through here? I totally can. Look at that. 1, 2. Can I do 3 and 4? Like that. So you just want them facing inwards is all. And once we've got those down, these don't require any power. And they just kind of work, which is kind of insane. And in fact, the only downside to these is that they do require a pickaxe, the block breakers, that is. And so if we wanted to, we can demonstrate this. If we take a stack of frozen diorite, I can put that into the block placer. It's going to place it down, and we could put a pickaxe into the block breaker, and it would break it. Now, the only thing to bear in mind here is that you do need to filter what you want them to break. So if I want this block breaker to only break iron ore, I have to filter that iron ore. If I don't filter the iron ore, and I just put a pickaxe in there, it's going to go ahead and just break all of the frozen diorite and destroy my stone pickaxe in the process, which is not what we want, but as you saw there, it is incredibly quick. So the pickaxe goes in slot 1, and then in slot 2 goes the thing you want to whitelist, in this case iron ore. So now if we put that same frozen diorite back in, that's going to quickly burn through the mana that we had available to us, and it's also going to get us silver ore. So we do want to also add silver ore to the whitelist. I think that might mean that we need to get more block breakers. I didn't really think that far ahead, actually, because I don't think that we can add a second item to the whitelist, so we're probably going to have to put a second block breaker on top of that. Never mind, it turns out this right slot is a blacklist. Now, if you try and put more than one item in there, it's not going to work. Apparently, if you just take one item and place that in, it totally does work. And so now, this should break everything, my goodness, that's not frozen diorite, which is pretty nifty and is obviously substantially faster than what we were doing previously. It is going to burn through our mana at a staggering rate, but hopefully we're just producing enough mana to kind of keep this going. So the mana is definitely going to be what slows us down here. But for now, if I just take another stack of frozen diorite and throw this in here, brace your ears, but that is very quickly a lot of iron and a lot of silver. So the only trouble is, again, collecting these. So I am thinking that potentially a hopper might be able to do the trick. Let me dump all that iron in there, and then let me get more iron smelting in here and in here. So we can make another regular old hopper. And then my thought process is that we're going to put that hopper right about here. Of course, we do want that piping into something. For now, that something probably can be a chest. For now, that could be a chest. It could also be a storage door. I'm going to make a chest for the time being, and we can always swap it out in a second. But if I were to put a chest down right about here, and if we were to then place the hopper down right about here, the items did spew a little bit, but let's see if that actually works. If I put like just one in, that looked like it worked. Let's try putting in like 16. So we might have to put a lid on this, because you'll see a lot of those didn't get picked up, which is kind of why I was thinking about getting something like the vacuumulator or the hopper hog. So as I mentioned earlier, we are limited on the mana spreader. This is what's causing our bottleneck here. We could probably just make like 3 more mana spreaders, and instead of having them all connect to 1, have them connect to 4, and maybe have one like here, 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 and here, all pointing down at the mana pool. Alright, so we've made 4 mana spreaders in total, 3 plus the one we already had down, and so we're just going to break these 4 blocks here. We're going to place down the mana spreaders 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then from there we can just connect those to this mana pool, and then we are going to have to go up to the surface and rebind the glacier floras to one of each of these 4 mana spreaders, and to do that, we're probably going to want to kind of dig out a little bit of space just around here so that we can more easily access these guys. And in fact, it probably would be quicker to just break all of the glacier flora and then just replace them down, because when you place them down, they automatically bind to their closest mana spreader. And then we can always tweak it if there's, you know, one too many connected to one of the mana spreaders. Alright, so this is working, and we have all of our mana spreaders shooting down, and all of our glacier floras are connected to at least one mana spreader, and none of these mana spreaders are actively full, which is good. I'm just going to move back up a little higher here to try and cool off. Okay, so let's try this again. If we put in, let's say, 8 frozen diorite, making sure that down here there's nothing in this hopper. Let me drop 8 frozen diorite into here. And then let's see, what did we end up getting in here? We got some stuff, but not all of the stuff. I think we did end up getting everything, but some of it kind of flew down through the hole. Again, to be fair, I think that's only because we've got a backlog of mana. I think as soon as we start running this system, we're going to run out of mana anyway, and instead of doing all of the diorite all at once like it just did, I think it's going to do, you know, bang, bang. But I think it's going to be a much slower, much more periodic transformation of these ores, and so that should be slow enough for the hoppers to keep up, I think. And so let's take this nice stack of iron that we have out of here. Let's get some more fuel to keep all of these furnaces going. And then let's see if we can't make 3 more regular Minecraft hoppers. One, 2, 3. And for the time being, we'll also make 3 more regular Minecraft chests. 1, 2, 3. And we'll put those down under here. 1, 2, 3. We'll then go ahead and temporarily break these so that we can go and do 1, 2, and 3. And then now it's just a case of getting all of the frozen stones from where they are around to their respective block placer. And I think the easiest way for us to do that is going to be using the item pipes from the pipes mod. These are pretty straightforward. I think we're going to need at least 32 of these, so I will make 4 droppers, and then we'll try and craft that into 32 pipes. In order to configure these pipes, we are going to need a pipes wrench. This is just 2 sticks and 2 flint. Thankfully, any sticks do work. It doesn't have to be blaze rods. We do want to lock our drawers at some point, because right now we have a problem where things that are not sticks or things that are not apples end up in that drawer if there's ever space for them to work their way in. But right now we don't really have that much gold, and so I don't know how easy it's going to be for us to make the drawer key. We do have 39 nuggets, and that might actually be enough. I think so. So the drawer key, if we just type in key into JEI, is this one right here. It's 2 gold ingots, 1 gold nugget, and 1 upgrade template. The upgrade template is just 8 sticks and a drawer. In terms of drawers, we do have 2 2x2 drawers left, so we can use one of those to make our templates. The only thing we're missing, bizarrely, is sticks, which we can craft, and boom, and then we can upgrade that to the key with 2 gold and the nugget, as we saw before. And then with this, you can actually right-click on the drawer, and that's going to lock that drawer to the items that are already in there. In this case, we don't want cobblestone, we want wheat to be locked in that drawer. Boom and boom. And so now, even if we take all of the sticks out of here, the sticks are still holding that space. And so the storage scanner won't be able to put anything else into there that isn't sticks. But let's go ahead and carve out the blocks underneath these block places. I believe it's this one here that is a block placer, this one here, and then of course this one here, and this one here. So what I think I'll do, just to make life a little easier, is I'm going to make some more storage drawers. So let me get some more logs. Let's clear out this here. In fact, we can do it in here. Let's do something like this, and then let's do something like this. I want 4 more drawers. I'm going to put these 4 drawers down under here, and I'm going to put them directly underneath these item pipes. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And using the pipes wrench, we can right-click on the connections that we don't want to happen. So we don't want anything going into these hoppers, and so if we shift right-click twice, that will set that to disabled. So that is not going to connect to the hopper, which is exactly what we want. We're then going to place down the storage drawer underneath these pipes. And the reason for the storage drawer is just to make it easier to know where all the items are going. So we're going to lock these drawers to one of each of the frozen diorite, frozen andesite, frozen granite, and frozen deep slate. So let's take you, you, and you, and let's lock those drawers to those frozen stones. Once all those are in, we'll just lock all of these drawers. And if we didn't do this, if we just tried to pipe directly up into the block places, we would have to run 4 separate item pipes that don't connect to each other to each of the block places. Whereas with this setup, we can just connect all 4 of these together like this, and of course make sure that this doesn't connect, and this doesn't connect, and then from there, we can just run the item pipe out and along to all 4 of our other storage drawers, set them all to extract, and all of the items are going to make their way to the correct storage drawer and then up into the correct block placer. We do need a few more pipes here. We didn't quite have enough to get us all the way there. Thankfully, they are fairly cheap to make. We can get 2 more droppers. We've got a ton of redstone still, and we can make another set of pipes. And with that, we should be basically good to go here. So let's do this and this. That's going to connect all of those up. And now, if we go back up to these drawers, we can head to the back and we can shift right click to set these to extract. Let's make sure we do that on all 4 of these pipes. And now, all of those should make their way down to their corresponding drawer underneath the orchid. Chat does make a good point. We do want to make sure that all of these are locked as well. Not that it really matters too much, but there is a chance that with the storage scanner, we could end up putting something else in there if we were not careful. But down here, we should see that these are filling up. They are indeed. They're filling up with all of the different types of frozen stone. And so now all we need to do is try and set these to extract. Like that. And so that should extract these items up. And we want to make sure we don't connect to those hoppers, ideally. We want to connect there. I think it's going to be easier if I go up by one block and do that, actually. So that's set to extract. That's good. That's set to extract. That's also good. Over here, we want to make sure that this is also set to extract. And, of course, the final one is right around the corner. Let's jump up, and let's make sure that you are also set to extract. So now, all of the stones are going to come around from their main drawer into this secondary drawer, and then from that secondary drawer, they're going to get piped up and around into the block places. Once they're in the block places, they should then get placed down. Okay, so somewhat annoyingly, you cannot pipe in to the bottom of the block places. We have to pipe in to either the top or the sides, which is unfortunate, but it just means that we're going to have some of these pipes showing, which is less than ideal. It's not really how I wanted this to look, but if we were to do something like this, this, and this, we could get rid of the connections we don't want, which are here, like that, and then on this side, we don't want this one to connect, so we'll get rid of that, and then around here, we'll do the exact same thing, so we'll have this one pumping in like that, and we'll have this one pumping in like that. Not like that, that's incorrect. No, that's right. This one's wrong. Okay, so I think this is going to work. We've got all of these pipes down. I've not connected them yet because I don't want them all to go in. Instead, let me grab a frozen andesite, and then let me find frozen andesite. So that's granite. That's deep slate. That must mean that you are andesite. You are indeed. So this block placer, I think, is placing down this way. Let me just check that. It is. So this block breaker is going to be blacklisted for andesite. That's perfect. We then need to do the same thing, of course, with the frozen deep slate and the frozen granite. Let's put frozen granite into this one right here. I think that's right. And then let's put frozen deep slate into this one right here. And so now, if we were to go ahead and connect these up, we should start to see this working. Okay, so 3 of the 4 of these are working. For whatever reason, we can't seem to extract from the top of this frozen granite drawer. If we try and pipe out of the top of this, even into the side of the block placer, it just doesn't work. We spent a bit of time trying to figure out what's going on there, but for some reason it's just not having it. However, if I extract from the side of the drawer, it works just fine. And so if we do something like this, make sure that's not connected, and then do this and this, that does work, and that fills up. Okay, so for now we're going to leave that like that, even though it's unfortunate that it has to be that way. So all of these are basically ready to go. The only thing they don't have now is a pickaxe. This one I've not connected just yet, just because I don't want it using all of the mana. Let's see here about crafting 3 more iron pickaxes. And if we put those in here, that's correct, here, and here, this one, oh, jeez, they're spewing everywhere. Did I not just put a pickaxe in there? I really thought I did. Oh no, I put it in the block placer like a fool. That's my bad. Let me put some of this stuff away. Let me put this in here, this in here, and then reconnect this here. Obviously, ideally without it connecting to here. And if we go to the muffler here, we can search for the orchid and we can turn down the sound of this, which I think is going to be ideal. So it turns out we had a lot of mana backed up in here. We are burning through it slowly but surely. The pickaxes are breaking, which makes sense. That's a lot more mana than I thought we had, to be fair. Let me dump all of these ores away and we'll check at the end how we're doing on ores. I do imagine that some of the ores have made their way down into here. And again, I'm hoping that once we've burned through the backlog of mana, that this is less of a problem. Obviously, going forward, something we are going to want to try and do is automate the production and sending of the pickaxes round to these. But for the time being, let's get all of these pickaxes manually placed back in. And let's see, that should, I think, take us to the point where we have no mana left in this mana pool. Okay, so we've managed to burn through the backlog there, which is good. So now there's no mana in the system, and you'll see that we do still have some pickaxes left. And so now I think we can once again place down our living rock bricks, like this, and going forward, all of the ores should just make their way down and into their respective chests, because they're being placed and broken so slowly that I think it should just work. And so the next stage here is taking all of these different ores that we have. We've got stacks of them now. Again, they're going to come in slower going forward, which is ideal. But now we need to take all of those ores and we need to process them.